Join me, if you will, for a brief thought experiment. Imagine it's garbage day in your tightly knit neighborhood or apartment complex. The day you and all of your neighbors put the trash to the curb, with the magical yet certain expectation that it will disappear. However, something's different about today. The big green machine doesn't come and pick it up. But assuming it's an anomaly, you and everybody else just shrug it off and wait till tomorrow. But yet again, garbage truck silence. And this progresses from a few days to a full week in a blink of an eye. With, might I add, a growing pile of literal crap. Let me ask you, how long do you think this little tight-knit community with a growing pile of crap to deal with will be able to keep its sanity? Or function, for that matter, with the big green garbage machine being MIA? A few weeks? Months? A full year? I'll let you noodle on that a little bit while I explain how this exact scenario could be going on inside your body right here, right now. Oh, and what you could do about it. Let's go. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftinbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today we are talking about our favorite cellular recycling processes and some new evidence regarding the ideal way to turn them on. You know, to ensure there's no missed garbage days. We are once again discussing a fan favorite on this channel, autophagy. And we've got some new, hot off the scientific streets data to help, specifically honing in on the cleanup of cellular waste within the all-important muscle cells, or the extremely metabolically active tissue type, which is responsible for keeping our all-important structural self intact. That same physical self, might I add, that naturally deteriorates as we accumulate chronological years on this beautiful floating rock. Scarpopenia, anyone? Yeah. Thus, why having more muscle and keeping it longer tends to trend ever so nicely with longevity, or being as functional and healthy as possible for as long as possible, as we've discussed quite thoroughly in these videos here. And as we know, one of the byproducts of being a mitochondrial dense and very metabolically active tissue is the secretion of more potentially harmful yet natural cellular waste products, which can damage different cellular components and in turn make them cellular garbage that needs to be cleaned up. Yeah, getting the analogy from the intro yet? Don't worry if you're not. Still plenty of show left. Just checking in, see if I'm doing my job okay. You can tell me in the comments. Now, luckily, just like the majority of cities and communities in this modern world, our cellular self has a whole bunch of protein and cellular cleanup processes, which help keep its cellular house clean and smelling nice, thus enabling it to have plenty of room to carry out its cellular duties without a whole bunch of toxic junk getting in the way. Because if you didn't know, when cellular garbage accumulates, it impairs the overall function and efficiency of the cell, and ultimately setting the stage for two of the hallmarks of aging: chronic inflammation and cellular senescence, a topic we talk about in detail here. TLDR, it is not cool for longevity school. I mean, thank goodness, right? I can only imagine the internal chaos if we did not have these processes churning on demand within our cellular... Huh? You mean these cleanup processes don't just happen 24/7, 365? Say what? Oh, they do kinda, as long as the cell is operating efficiently? Whew. Well, good thing we have that going for it. Huh? Oh, come on. Not again. What is it? Upwards of 90% of the Western population is estimated to be dealing with some sort of metabolic dysfunction, mainly due to living a lifestyle of 24/7 ultra-processed eating, chronic sleep deprivation, extremely sedentary behavior, a severe nature deficit, and the chronic activation of the stress response. When are you gonna give me some good news? Jeez. What? You mean we can modulate these recycling and repair processes through modulating the very same lifestyle variables? Now you're talking, production team. But how? And what are the best ways to target them? What a great time to dive into this new, super relevant study. And no more, production team. We're done with that part of the show. Researchers out of the University of Bonn's Institute of Cell Biology sought to investigate what physical interventions may be able to activate these ever-important cellular cleanup pathways and what mechanisms were driving them. To do this, previous research led them to focus in on a specific type of intervention, one that has shown promise in stimulating the cellular and mitochondrial cleanup processes, autophagy and mitophagy. The intervention under the microscope was resistance training. And for this experiment, researchers recruited 8 healthy young individuals and had them train 2 days a week for 6 weeks, performing a progressive overload routine of leg presses, leg extensions, drop squats, and scaling stairs. I wish I knew about that. I probably would have signed up. Who doesn't love scaling stairs? I mean, come on. 2 interesting focal points of the training were muscle contraction and time under tension, as subjects were instructed to perform 1-second concentric contractions with 2-second eccentric reversals. Another interesting tidbit about the routine was the fact that they had a rest on a clock, being 2 to 3 minutes between sets and exercises to keep both heart rate and time under tension up. And as you can imagine, at several points throughout the study, biopsies were collected and muscle tissue was analyzed. So, what'd they find? Well, some interesting garbage-related things indeed. First, that the resistance training stimulated the activation of a protein called BAG3, or BAG3, a protein which happens to play a critical role in the elimination of damaged cellular components. How, you ask? Well, by identifying the damaged components and binding to them, essentially tagging garbage to be picked up by the cellular garbage truck, an autophagosome. And it's here in autophagosomes where waste is accumulated and then taken to be broken down. Rather interesting, I know. However, there's more. They also observed that BAG3 is involved in the induction of mitophagy, or the cleanup of damaged mitochondria within the cell. And we know how important that is from this breakdown here, confirming that resistance exercise is a double whammy for cellular recycling activation. Researchers concluded that strength training with strategic yet not prolonged rest and sufficient resistance may be a target methodology for the stimulation of cellular waste removal, and in turn assist with the preservation of muscle tissue, which, as we've discussed, is a good idea for biological business. Super interesting stuff. You know, to know that all of that exercise you're doing actually does a whole lot more than just make you look cool naked. Speaking of that, cleaning up, not looking cool naked. That's important, but cleaning up. I wonder if there's anything else we can do to prime these cleanup pathways. Let's take a look. And I won't keep you waiting. We'll just start with the good news. There happens to be a number of proven ways that we can increase processes like autophagy and its supporting pathways throughout the body. In fact, I did a whole video on my daily autophagy routine right here. And as I learn more about our cellular function, and ironically realize that I know less and less, the place I find best to start when we talk cellular cleanup is becoming more mindful of good cellular operations, so we can limit the waste or garbage in the first place. In other words, focus on putting our body in a position to operate efficiently and thus do its thing. That is the big hump that I truly believe needs to be overcome in this modern world, because societal norms normalize the exact opposite. Thus, we need to rebel against them, primarily by doubling down on the foundational components of health and longevity. Eating real, whole, nourishing foods loaded with micro and macronutrients which support cellular health. Prioritizing the most restorative, regenerating, and detoxifying part of our 24-hour day. high quality circadian aligned sleep, moving our badonkadonk in an intentional and methodical daily way like we saw today, and getting out and about in the environment which we have deep biological ties to. All of this cultivates an internal environment that promotes efficient cellular operations, and as a byproduct, limits the cellular waste and damage produced in the first place. However, I got some news for you. The good news about owning your health doesn't stop there. Yeah, you thought bad news time. Nuh-uh. More good news. Many of those habits just discussed also ramp up your in-house cellular recycling processes. You gotta love how healthy habits compound like interest in the longevity bank. I mean, come on. For example, as we saw today, the data on exercise has displayed that it increases a family of proteins which kick off cellular cleanup processes. And adding just 30 minutes of cardio, and now strength training too, can induce autophagosome formation. Then we have what we eat and, interestingly, don't eat. As studies on time-restricted eating in humans have shown that consuming one's energy within an 8-hour daily window or less can upregulate the expression of autophagy genes, especially when compared to the normal 12 to 16-hour daily feeding window. And dietary phytonutrients, which are plant polyphenols, flavonoids, and compounds found in the pigments of fruits and veggies, have also displayed promise in upregulating the pathways for cellular recycling. And this includes drinks like coffee and tea, just not the ones that you turn into a milkshake. So don't do that. Other beneficial stressors like heat and cold, think sauna and ice bath, have shown potential too, as the heat shock response from planned heat exposure has shown the capability to induce autophagy in animal models, repairing damaged and misfolded proteins in a similar way to autophagy, while cold exposure has displayed similar effects via the cold shock response. Finally, we have the cellular and metabolic GOAT, greatest of all time, the thing that you cannot operate efficiently at the cellular level without high-quality, circadian-aligned sleep, as it has been shown to be critical for getting the full benefits of cellular recycling. One of the reasons being that melatonin, or our master sleep hormone, plays a key role in modulating autophagy. So keeping strong circadian alignment, going to bed and waking up with the sun, prioritizing an 8-hour sleep opportunity in between, is the final critical piece to this cellular cleanup puzzle. Until we find more, of course. These are all perfect examples of reconnecting with our biological roots. Many of the good stressors that our biology has evolved over millions of primate years to deal with and thrive in. And ironically, it happens to be the ultra-comfortable, ultra-processed, 24/7 eating, sedentary, sleep and nature-deprived modern world that both increases cellular waste accumulation and impairs cellular cleanup processes, setting the stage for dysfunction and the unfortunate, yet very real, onset of disease. All because we decided to consciously, or more likely unconsciously, outsource our health. Which, now that I think about it, is kind of like outsourcing your trash pickup to a non-existent garbage company. And we know how that story ends. So go own it.